What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is The Walking Dead, Season 9, Episode 1, A New Beginning. So I am returning to the show finally. It's been one that I wanted to return to for a while because I still enjoyed The Walking Dead for the most part. It's just, for one, it's kind of a hard show to sit through most of the time because it's not the most uplifting show. It's a very dark show, it's very depressing. Obviously, a lot of death, a lot of destruction, despair, all that. It's the moments when the team perseveres that gets you going, yeah, but along the way there's a lot of loss that happens before that moment, and that's the tough part to sit through. So it's been a show that I have been kind of putting off because I haven't really been in the best state of mind to watch a show like this. I feel like I'm kind of at that point now where I can and I'll be okay and I won't get too depressed, hopefully. No, but I mean, getting back into it, it's been a while since I watched the last season. I tried to watch some of my videos, like when I review, but when I reviewed the season 8 episodes. But I gotta say, God, I can't stand some of my older videos. I think I've said this before in some previous reviews, but I did a lot of just straight up recapping everything that happened in the episode of my older reviews. And I'm sitting there watching it now and thinking, God, I'm not even really reviewing much of the show. I'm just talking about what happened and just explaining what happened. Oh, so I'm glad at least I've come a little bit further than that, hopefully. I hope that's better. I don't know. But from what I do remember, obviously, takedown of Negan. The one thing that I'm not sure exactly what happened, only because they didn't really talk about it in this episode, is what happened at the end with Maggie. I seem to remember Maggie seeming to, I guess, question Rick's leadership and question his decision making as a leader. I didn't get it too much in this episode. I mean, we saw there was a moment where she finally decided we can't just give Sanctuary whatever we have. So I don't know if that's coming from that decision of last season where she didn't agree with Rick's decision to not kill Negan, and so that's why she's acting like this, or if this is just the pressure of the people finally getting to her, because clearly the people aren't, not everybody, but a few at least, are not happy with the fact that they're doing all of this stuff, they're going on all these runs, and it's not really benefiting Hilltop. But also, it's kind of interesting because on the flip side, Hilltop seems to be the one place that it's thriving the most. So they can afford to help out the others. But I guess, whenever you lose your son, like these people did, for them, that's like, oh, well, then why are we helping them if we're just going to get killed in the process? So it's kind of an interesting conundrum, and one that I hope they explore a little bit better in the future, because honestly, in this episode, it was mainly just there to show Gregory's treachery is still fully well and alive until the end of the episode, at least. So I do hope, though, that we get a little bit better conversation about it, because in this one, it just wasn't that good. It wasn't that interesting. It was just the parents getting all upset at Maggie for, in my opinion, no real reason. Because it's not like she forced their son to go out there, right? It's not like she drug him along. He went willingly, and what happened is tragic, and I feel for them in that case, but it seems like they just want someone to blame, and they throw it on Maggie. And I feel like that was kind of a poor character decision from the writer's point of view. And again, I get that it's there to show, well, Gregory senses the opportunity, so he takes it. But for me, I didn't really enjoy watching any scenes with them or with Gregory in it, because it just seemed a little too silly, in my opinion. It didn't seem very realistic based on how everything is going, especially considering they are trying to get everybody to work together, and things seem to be going pretty well for the most part. That is, of course, with the exception of possibly Sanctuary. This whole thing with there possibly being some dissenters in Sanctuary who still feel loyal to Negan and everything he did. I don't know what to expect from that. I assume we'll get more about that as the season goes on. I will be curious to see if it's going to be just a few here or there, or if there's a pretty large group in Sanctuary that still feel like they deserve to be loyal to Negan. But it's set up for a good possibility of some traitors throughout the season. Things suddenly start going wrong. Maybe with the fact that they're talking about how the crops aren't really growing. It could be what Daryl said, but maybe it's also there are traitors there. So that's a possibility too. And I think it's definitely set up for some good mystery as well. There'll probably be some characters like this Justin guy that Daryl just randomly asked to cover it. There'll probably be some characters that we'll get introduced to at Sanctuary, and I feel like it might be a little bit of a mystery as to who is still loyal to Negan and who doesn't like this current setup. You know, the guy that's acting all like, "Oh yeah, Rick, thank you so much for everything you're doing, man." Is he gonna be the one that's actually still loyal to Negan, and he's just overcompensating because he doesn't want to see him like he's a traitor? I feel like that's a good setup, and I definitely want to see more about what's going on there. Um, Stuff with Ezekiel and Carol, it's okay. You know, I've never been a big fan of most of the relationships in the show because they've just been kind of there. You know, Rick and Michonne has been nice. Glenn and Maggie was obviously pretty good. But I don't know. For me, Carol, you don't need to give her a guy. I do like what she says to Daryl about how he's kind of cheesy, but after what she went through with her previous husband, like, she kind of needs that cheesiness in her life. I do like that scene, but I still feel like it's just a little too, I don't know, distracting from everything else going on. Like, I do want people to be happy, and if this makes Carol and Ezekiel happy, then cool. But I don't know. For me right now, it's still a little bit weird. I'm pretty sure they were setting this up in last season. I don't really remember everything that happened, but I mean, it's fine. It's just not really what I want to see right now, and especially with all the different stories between what's going on at Sanctuary, what's going on now with Maggie at Hilltop, and then of course you've got some characters that not really sure what their place is. You know, Daryl, don't know what he's gonna do for right now. It's definitely, it's got me intrigued in other ways that this sort of side story with Ezekiel and Carol, it's just sort of there for me, and it's fine for what it is, but it's not really gripping me. I'm pretty sure Enid went down. I don't know. She like hit her head on the rock. We didn't see her after that scene, so I don't know if she's unconscious. Is she dead? I don't know. It seemed like a pretty hard hit onto the rock, so I don't know if there's been any confirmation about what happened there, but if there was, I missed it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I missed in this episode. That's going to be the hard part, I think, about reviewing Walking Dead, is that there's so much generally that happens in every episode, like different moving pieces as well, and some of them are, sometimes it's not always connected. It's kind of difficult for me to sort of stay on every little thing and what my thoughts were on it. So I'm going to do my best. I'm going to attempt to make sure that I'm keeping track of everything and giving my thoughts on everything that I have, I guess, an opinion on. Because honestly, there were some things like what happened at the beginning, them getting all of the equipment and stuff. All of that was just perfectly fine. Like, I don't really have much of an opinion on it. So I'll try to at least focus on the main talking points from each episode and try not to forget any major things that happen. But yeah, I think that's about it for this first episode, though. I'm intrigued to see what they're going to do now, because the Negan fight definitely seemed like the big climactic battle. But of course, we've still got 3 more seasons after that, so I don't really know what they plan to do. I know a few things from spoilers that I've happened to glance at, because unfortunately there were a lot of spoilers. I forgot to stop following the Walking Dead Twitter page, so I kept getting updated on that, even though I didn't really want to be. So I do know about I don't know when I think they're called the Whisperers or something. It looked like people that were disguising themselves as walkers. I know that they're going to be a problem at some point. I don't know if that's going to be this season or next season. I do know at some point Rick is going to be off the show. I don't know if he stayed off until the end or not, but I know they wrote him off the show, and I do know it's like, if I remember like what vague spoiler I saw, I think it's not like he's actually dead, but he technically is. So I don't know if that means like he's going to be in a coma, or if it's something where he seems like he died, but you don't see the body, so it's possibly still alive. I don't know what the plan is for that, but it's those two things are going to be things that I'm not going to be all like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened, because I already kind of know about it, unfortunately. But everything else I've tried to remain mostly unspoiled on. I, of course, know there were some characters that made it later on. I do remember seeing have made it later on, so I guess I won't expect them to die, but outside of that, I tried to remain mostly outside of the story, so I don't know what's going to happen next. But yeah, with all that being said, we are on to episode 2, so I'll see you there. And now, episode 2, The Bridge. So, some interesting plot points, I guess, moving forward. Something that I did forget from last season that got kind of brought up again, and I was reminded of, is, well, I almost called her Jadis, but Anne now. I don't remember why that name changed. I guess maybe she went back to using her old name. I don't remember. But she saw a helicopter in this episode. I'm pretty sure that I remember her seeing a helicopter last season too, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know what that's about. I don't know if there's like maybe this large group of people that are out there somewhere and they're living off of a ton of stuff. I don't know. I don't know what to expect from that. Maybe the other countries are fine and so they're sending over like planes and helicopters and stuff. Wouldn't make much sense considering the fact that, I mean, that would mean that they've been okay for years now, while America's just been in total shit mode. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that's all about. It's definitely got my interest. I hope we get some answers about it soon. But as far as this episode is concerned, it really did a good job of showing kind of the dichotomy of the two different mindsets right now. You know, because you've got your people that are more like what Rick wants to do, which is funny because last season this was completely against Rick's ideals. But essentially, Rick, Michonne, you got like Jesus at Hilltop. A lot of these people, they want to try to work together. They want to try to get everybody working together, working for each other, and try to build back some form of society again, and try to get that building for the future of the people. You know, hopefully having kids, hopefully bringing up a new generation, and start to regrow the human race, basically. Meanwhile, you've got some people who either are coming from Negan's old group or you've got people coming from Rick's group that still kind of don't trust anybody else, you know? And that's where I feel like a lot of this season is right now. Because we kind of had that a little bit last season where you had some of that infighting. You know, Carl had that mindset of trying to work with the Saviors after they managed to stop Negan. Because there is that mindset of we got to work together if we really want to grow as a people. And honestly, it's something that even today, you look in our modern society, it's a very good message because oftentimes it's, oh, you disagree with me? Well, I hate you for that. Instead of, you disagree with me? Okay, well, let's talk about it. Let's figure out why we disagree. If there's just no way we're going to convince each other, we can still work together. As long as it's not hurting anybody, we can still try to work together on it. But unfortunately, a lot of people are more like what we see in this show, where just constantly no trust, no capability of trying to work together. You just do have some people like this Justin guy that are incapable of seeing anything from anybody else's point of view and are just total assholes about it as well. So it's definitely a good setup for this season, setup for what I think is probably going to be the main conflict, more than likely. Because it does seem like there is something going on that we don't quite know about yet. So I'm definitely curious about that and about what they're going to do with it as far as a writing perspective goes. Some of the stuff that I was just kind of like about Anne and Father Gabriel hooking up, okay. Don't really get that. I mean, it's weird because I was talking about in the last episode, like Carol and Ezekiel wasn't like huge on that. It was fine for what it was. This one's actually a little bit more weird to me. They're both kind of characters I didn't expect to see more of after last season. I mean, Father Gabriel, when he went to Negan, I really thought was just gone. And he's still around, still helping out. And then Jadis Ann now, I thought, honestly, Negan was going to take care of her, but she's still around as well. And now they're both hooking up, and I'm just like, why? What is this all about? So yeah, that was a little odd. Ezekiel and Carol, those moments are sweet, you know, and it's something that I kind of forgot about because I do remember these moments being similar to what we saw at the end of this episode where he wants to give this impassioned speech, but of course she's not all for that, but he wants to be himself around her and be this sort of extravagant character that he loves to be, and it is a sweet couple the more I think about it. I'm still not like wanting it to take up a ton of time, but the few moments we got in this episode I was happy with. Overall, I mean, just everything with the infighting, with Rick trying to keep control of the group, meanwhile Negan it seems like maybe he knows a little bit more than he's letting on. Maybe he has a few people that he tried to make sure if he were ever to be taken out or if he were ever to be imprisoned, he had people that basically he set into place to sort of make problems for whoever came after him. That's kind of what I'm assuming. I don't know if that's for sure, but it definitely seems like there is something going on. There is somebody trying to sabotage Rick's plans, basically. And the way Negan talks about it, it makes it sound like he knew about it. So I don't know if that's going to end up being the case where Negan put this into place or not. But whatever the case, it's definitely very interesting. And I like this kind of feeling of things are going well and they are working together for the most part. They do have their moments where things feel okay. Yes, a couple of issues here and there, a couple of times people get ambushed by walkers. But for the most part, as long as everybody's doing their jobs, as long as everybody's working together, things are good. People are safe. They're figuring things out. They're rebuilding bridges to try to get all the supplies going. So those moments whenever things suddenly go wrong or whenever somebody makes a mistake or does something out of line, it definitely does feel like there's this tension building, and just you're waiting for it to pop off. You're waiting for it to just all go wrong. And it does bring up a lot of good questions, and I do want to see what they decide to do with this idea of who's going to make the decisions of what do we do with the people who don't want to work with us. Because at the end of the day, you can talk about trying to give people chances, trying to give people a chance to work with everybody else, a chance to turn their life around, all of that stuff. You can talk about that all day long. If there's a person who doesn't want to work with everyone else, like a Gregory, who's just constantly trying to undermine, trying to get back into power, he wants to be in control. And if he can't have that, he's going to constantly undermine you. That's not helping anybody. And yes, you could technically just lock him away for a long time, but then all of the resources you have in this world, you don't really have a whole lot of resources to just give to this random person. And honestly, it's kind of, it has to be said, this idea that Negan needs to be kept alive. Like, I get Rick's reasoning where he wants Negan to kind of know about this world that he's creating, almost as kind of a spit in your face type of thing. Like, oh, you thought we weren't going to do this? Well, we are. But at the same time, you're probably feeding him every day, right? Which means some of your resources are going to him. And as scarce as the resources can be at times, it does make me wonder why there's not more of a talk of, well, if somebody's not willing to help, either get rid of them, like kick them out of the place, or if they're that unwilling where, like Gregory, he wants to stay and he wants to try to constantly cause trouble, yeah, it might be a good idea to decide, hey, you're not helping us, you're not contributing, you're making things worse for people, you're gonna have to die. Like, it's not something that needs to be discussed lightly, but it is something that does need to be talked about, and I hope they do discuss that a bit more, because it is an interesting quandary to try to figure out. But yeah, all in all, though, a pretty solid episode. I hope to see continuing on this path of trying to figure out what's going on, trying to figure out who's trying to trip up Rick, who's trying to essentially mess up his plans. But it's a good start to the season so far. So now on to episode 3. I'll see you there. And now episode 3, warning signs. Yep, Maggie is officially my least favorite character. Daryl's pretty low down there too with her, but she's the one that's really like started this whole idea of we can't work together anymore. And it's frustrating. Because the thing is, I really thought for a moment whenever she saw what she caused by hanging Gregory, it would be like a moment of, oh crap, I'm the one that did this. And Justin was one thing, because obviously Justin wasn't willing to work with anyone. But Arad has shown she's willing to work with the group. Like, she was one of the ones stepping up and saying, hey, no, we're not doing this, we're not fighting. And yet they still brought her out there to kill her. And yes, what she did before was bad. But, like, just essentially, oh, she executed her brother and said no exceptions? Well, I'm turning my back on her now. It's like, okay, but she's working with you now. Again, if this were Justin or Jed or whatever his name was, if it were one of those guys, and that's like Maggie and Daryl were there and they're like, we don't care about that, that would be one thing. But again, Arat had shown she's willing to work with you guys. She was one of the ones trying to keep the fighting from happening. And you just turned your back. It's It's like, oh, well, this is the last one. So this is the last one that it specifically attacked us. It doesn't matter. You guys are supposed to be trying to work together. And I find it hilarious, Maggie. Oh, we tried Rick's way. Did you? Did you ever really try Rick's way? You didn't. Not even once. You never wanted to work with them. You never really tried to work with them. So, you're full of shit. Like, it's stupid. And Daryl as well. Like, he understands. He even said the one episode he understood why Rick did what he did. Because there's no way that they're going to be able to survive if they're constantly fighting each other. You know, taking Negan down was supposed to put an end to the fighting. But now with this idea that, oh, well, saviors, we're just going to push them away. We're not going to work with them anymore. Well, what do you think they're going to do? Think they're just going to sit by and be like, oh, well, they have a ton of food and stuff. We'll just stay here and not get access to any food. We'll just starve. It's fine. No, they're going to come after you. They're going to fight you, and they're still going to kill your people. So the best way to try to solve this is to not fight each other. And yet, Maggie and Daryl go and decide, you know what? We don't want to try. We would rather have people die fighting these people that we don't like rather than try to work with them. And it's stupid. You know, it's like, I really thought Maggie was kind of changing her mind a little bit after talking a bit with Michonne, after seeing some of what's going on. I really thought she was starting to change her mind and be like, you know what? Maybe we should try to work with them. Maybe the best thing is not to antagonize them, not to attack them, because we don't really have the ability to constantly be at war and still have all the access to these supplies. You know, she talked about with Daryl, maybe they do need to change, so it's what's best for Herschel. You know, growing up into a world not full of fighting, full of people working together and trying to rebuild society. So to see her change at the end like that because, oh, well, what she did while she was working for Negan, that's just inexcusable. It's dumb. It's stupid. Yes, she was bad. She worked for a bad guy. Doesn't mean she can't change. With Gregory, it made sense because he constantly just had chance after chance after chance to try to change, and he never did. Not once. Constantly went back to the same old, same old. Constantly went back to trying to undermine people to get his way. Some of these saviors, they've shown they can change. Not all of them have. Again, Justin, Jed, JD, they've shown, it's weird that all of them are J names, but they've shown that they're not willing to work with the group. And those people, sure, you can kick them out and that's fine. But there are some, the blonde hair girl whose name I forget, she's got, I think, the tattoo on her neck. You have a Rot who's also willing to help. Like, you've got saviors that are changing, that are trying to work with the group because they see the benefit of working with Rick's group and all of the stuff they can get as long as they work together. That one girl, the blonde girl, she said, yeah, hey, we'll definitely try to get you that ethanol as soon as we possibly can. And I'm pretty sure she meant it because she saw what Maggie was doing, bringing this food in good faith. And now it's just all out the window because Maggie and Daryl are idiots, as well as these girls from Oceanside. So, yeah, I'm kind of pissed because it just doesn't make much sense. Like, I know you have to have some sort of tension. You have to have some sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Friction, complications. There's a specific word to describe, like, the main issue in a plot. And it's out of my mind right now because I'm so tired. I'm not going to remember. I don't think I'm going to remember what it's called. If anybody's watching this and you want to help me out in the comments, that'd be great. But the main problem of the story, I realize you gotta have people that are going to antagonize the protagonist if you want to have that. If you want to have some sort of tension building for your story. And most of the time shows like this, they have to have tension or else they're not as interesting. So I get that. I get that part. But you could have done it in a more clever way rather than show us Maggie starting off from this idea of, oh, we can't work with him, I can't forgive Negan for killing Glenn, and maybe starting to change her mind, maybe, and then just instantly, nope, we tried for, half a second. We didn't really try, but we tried to work with him, and it just didn't work, so Rick's way didn't work. We're gonna go see Negan now, I'm gonna go kill him. It's stupid, is what it is. It's really stupid, it's contrived, it's BS. Really hoping it wouldn't come to this. Because I do remember getting worried about what they were going to do with Maggie's character after seeing some of what she said at the end of last season. Like, I vaguely remember it, and now here we are. It seemed like maybe we weren't going to go down that road, and then now we are. And that's great. Not really. Some of the other stuff, seeing Rick and Michonne together, felt like some of the scenes with them were a little too kind of stretched out a bit too long. Like, I don't know, there were some scenes where I felt like it was coming to an end of the scene, and suddenly we keep going for about another minute or so. And I get, they're showing that they're clearly happy together. Scenes with Judith were nice. Seeing them talking about, like, maybe we should start building the future right now. And I mean, I'm thinking about taking that and using it for my future wife in bed one day. But yeah, I don't know. It seemed a little too long, a little bit too much time spent there, instead of, I guess, showing Rick doing some detective stuff, because he was looking into who killed Justin and all that. I feel like that could have been interesting to see him, because we haven't seen him work very often as a cop, which is what he was before all of this happened. And I felt like this could be a good chance to show what he could do as a cop, show some of his abilities as a cop, reading a situation, looking into the evidence, trying to figure out what happened. But we didn't really see that. We saw Daryl and Maggie split off, and then Daryl found the arrow, or the harpoon thing, and all of a sudden he's the one that figures it out, and he goes and finds them. Whereas Rick and Carol, they just end up finding Jed and JD. They're just hanging out, I guess, waiting to ambush them so they could steal the guns. And then, of course, Carol has another badass scene where I almost kind of wonder, because that scene was set up very well, where we see Carol holding the knife, and Rick's sitting there saying, if you do this, there's no going back. I honestly wonder, and I don't know if this was what I was supposed to get from this scene, but I kind of had a feeling that he was talking to Carol there. Like, hey, if you stab him, no going back from this. But I did like the scene, because good amount of tension. I mean, I had a feeling that it probably was going to end this way. But I don't know. I love scenes where Carol gets to be a badass, because that's always fun to watch. But yeah, so at the end, though, with all the saviors, it looks like they're leaving. I guess this means that there's no more truce. I don't know exactly what it means. Like, I don't know if the bridge is just done, and like they're not going to work on it anymore. But yeah, it's not exactly the best feeling right now for the show, especially after episode 2, where there were issues, but they seemed to resolve themselves by the end of it. Now all of a sudden, here we are, one episode later, and everything's the exact opposite. Everything that was building up in the last episode seems like it just got cut off and replaced with, oh, everything's going to shit. This sucks. And I don't know. It didn't feel natural. I felt like what was happening in the last episode, it did feel natural. There was a lot of unease. There was a lot of tension. This one, it seemed like once Justin's dead body showed up, suddenly everything just sort of went off the rails. And obviously, there would be a lot of mistrust. A couple saviors go missing. One now turns up dead. Looks like he got killed by a human. There is going to be that mistrust of like, oh, they're just picking us off. But I feel like there could have been a lot easier way of dealing with what's going on. Rick stepping up and saying, look, I'm going to look into this personally myself. I'm going to figure out who did this, and we'll find the perpetrator. We'll deal with them. And making sure he's the one to deal with it. Not entrusting also Daryl, who seems to be going off the deep end, and then Maggie, who, I mean, granted at the time probably would have trusted her, but now at the end of it, no way I'm going to trust her with anything. So I don't know. It's just very frustrating, as far as it really feels like they just sort of took all these ideas, the possibility of trying to figure things out, trying to work things out with the Saviors. They just took all those ideas and in one episode just tossed it out the window. So very disappointed there. Stuff with Anne, or Jadis, or whatever she wants to be called now. I have no idea. This seems so weird. It seems so out of nowhere. She's talking to people on the radio. I don't know what any of this is supposed to be. I mean, I'm guessing we'll get answers about it soon. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't have any theories. I don't have any possibilities floating around in my mind. The only thing that's like popped up into my mind, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever, is that this is like some sort of experiment, and there are like people watching from the outside, like watching everything that happens in this world where they release this deadly virus that turn people into these zombies. So they're just watching all of it happen, and Jadis, I guess, was like put in there as part of the experiment, and she's getting food from the outside as long as she, I don't know, sends people to be tested on. like it's the only thing that's come to mind, and it's so ridiculous because how would that make sense? I mean, they went all the way from Georgia to Washington D.C. area. So how would that make any sense that, oh, no, this section is cordoned off, but this other, I don't know. I don't know where it would be. I don't understand any of what's going on there. It's just, it's weird right now. I don't know what the A and the B stand for either. I assume that B stands for like a follower, somebody who's not gonna stand up for them. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I guess she's gonna trade Father Gabriel for her freedom, whatever that means. I hope we get some answers soon because right now I'm just so confused with what she's doing. But yeah, I think that's about it for this episode though. Again, overall it's frustrating. Like, I get it from a story perspective. I get it from a, we need to build tension, we need to create conflict for this season. Maybe that was the word I was looking for earlier. But I still don't like this choice for these characters because it makes Maggie and Daryl both a lot more unlikable, and it makes it harder for me to root for them because of all the stupid shit they're doing. So that's where I am on that. But that's it for these first 3 episodes. I am somewhat excited to be back with this show, though. I'm probably going to try to... I know I'm not going to be able to catch up all the way, but I am going to try to go through 2 seasons of this to catch up a little bit more. So, looking forward to seeing what's going to happen for the rest of the season, but that's it for me. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on these first 3 episodes of Season 9? Let me know, we can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Walking Dead reviews, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Peace out.